Once the top schools release their round 3 decisions in April and May, the business school admissions season will be over for all practical purposes. Given the number and quality of applicants seeking admission to the top B schools, it's inevitable there will be some disappointed applicants. If you were dinged this year, you need to decide what to do next. Assuming you still want to get an MBA, you essentially have 3 choices. You can submit late applications to U.S. schools that are still accepting fall applicants. You can apply to international B schools that will continue taking fall and winter applications for several more months. Or you can reapply to the schools that dinged you for next fall's admission. For many people, reapplying to their first choice schools will be the most attractive of these 3 options. It's hard to give up on the dream of an MBA from one of the country's top business schools. Technically, you can apply to the same business school as many times as you want to, provided you submit only 1 application per year. Realistically, however, you have just 1 more shot at getting in at most schools. Besides, unless you really enjoy spending your time on B school applications, you probably don't want to repeat the application process any more than once. That means you'll want to get everything right this time around. That, in turn, means you need to understand the unique demands of applying to B schools as a reapplicant. Either way, the admissions committee that reads your application is going to know up front that you applied once before and were turned down. Every B school application you fill out will ask you to indicate whether you've applied to the program in question before. If you answer yes, some schools will ask you to complete re-applicant specific essays or to answer some additional questions. Other schools will ask you to complete the application just as if you were applying for the first time. Either way, the admissions committee that reads your application is going to know up front that you applied once before and were turned down. That knowledge is what differentiates you from a first-time applicant. Even if the admissions committee makes no reference to your previous application or to the reasons for your denial, everyone reviewing your application will know that you were sized up once before and found lacking. You're starting off on the wrong foot. Your admission success depends on how good a job you do at recovering from that. The best way to go about recovery depends on which school you're a reapplicant to and how it handles repeat applications. As I mentioned before, some schools ask you to build on the application that you submitted the previous year. Other schools act as if your previous application no longer exists. Yet other schools take an in-between approach, asking you to write a special essay about your reapplicant status while completing the rest of the essays as if you were a first-time applicant. You need to understand which process your target school follows and prepare your application accordingly. Some people use the term re-applicant friendly to describe B schools that ask re-applicants to build on their previous submissions. That's a misleading concept. Schools that ask re-applicants to complete everything from scratch aren't doing it to discourage repeat applicants. And it's a mistake to think that it's easier to get into B schools that won't make you answer the why in MBA question all over again. In fact, it can be even harder if you went down the wrong path with your first application. Other people use the term re-applicant friendly to denote schools that tend to admit a higher percentage of the re-applicant pool than they do the first-time applicant pool. That's also misleading. There are reasons for those numbers that have nothing to do with how receptive a school is to re-applicants. Self-selection tends to clear re-applicant pools of less motivated candidates. For example, the people who invest the time and money in reapplying really want to get their MBAs, and many of them will be taking encouragement from the fact that they were previously waitlisted and not dinged. You'll maximize your chances of reapplicant success if you follow these steps. First, review the application you submitted this year. Try to understand what it was that led to your waitlist or reject decision. Remember that it's often not one particular thing that makes or breaks an application. Admissions committees read applications holistically. Second, sign up for a feedback session if the school that dinged you offers them. Take careful note of any areas of improvement the person you speak to mentions. Be realistic about how much you can expect from this type of feedback, however. You can't assume that if you fix X, Y, or Z, you'll be guaranteed admission the following year. Your application will still be judged in the context of a wider applicant pool. Even if your application is better than the one you submitted this year, it may not be strong enough to compete with the rest of next year's pack. Third, think about what steps you can take over the next 6 to 8 months to strengthen the case that you're MBA material. Can you take on more responsibilities at work, or take on a leadership role in one of your volunteer activities? Would it help if you picked different recommenders and worked with them ahead of time to get the most out of their recommendations? And would you benefit from retaking the GMAT? Fourth, identify which approach your target school uses with re-applicants and tailor your application accordingly. You can use this year's application instructions to get an idea of what to expect. Fifth, plan to apply in the first round. That will reinforce the impression that you're serious about your application and you're organized. There's never any denying that a ding hurts, but the top schools do welcome repeat applicants, and re-applicants can and do win admission to all the top B schools. If you follow the advice laid out in this video, you'll be well on your way to being successful the second time around.
Are you seeking admission to a stretch school? We have the expertise and we're here to help. Call us at 1-800-809-0800 to learn how we can help you achieve your educational dreams and ambitions.